Hello and welcome to another episode of Jets Mailbag. I'm your host, Jeane Coakley, and I am joined by my co-host for this and every episode of the show, Connor Hughes. Connor, welcome back to the States.
You too, Jeane. It's good to be back across the pond. I was texting you about this before. So I came home from London, and the first day that I'm back, my daughter Brooke decided to potty train herself. So we are knee deep in the middle of that this week because she's 2. So it's definitely a little early for this all to be starting. I'm trying to figure out if potty training at 2 is an early sign that she might be able to get some kind of scholarship to college. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but literally my wife and I were sitting there and we're not prepared for this at all. So we have no like kids underwear or anything around the house. All of a sudden my daughter comes up to us and just goes, pee potty. And Bree and I were like, what? We put her on her little toilet that like my in-laws got us a year and a half ago. And she just peed on the toilet. And now it's every 5 minutes she's running into the bathroom peeing because she also knows now that when she pees on the toilet, she gets an M&M. So it's hysteria here at the Hughes household.
I mean, it's exciting time. That's an exciting time. Just wait until she does the number 2 on the potty. That's real.
Yeah,
fun.
that's the next one. I mean, we were getting there because we were getting to the point where we were at restaurants and she was looking at us and saying like, "Daddy poop." And it was like, you feel like touch the butt like anyone who has a kid like does. Like you feel like, is there anything back there? We're like, no, there's nothing. And then literally 5 minutes later is when she's got the poop face on. So potty training is something that we weren't necessarily ready to dive into at the moment. But now right in the middle of the NFL season where we're in and out of the house and running all around, we're trying to get this done.
I love that we haven't even started the show yet, and we're talking about potty training. This is how far we've come, Connor, with this team.
Yeah. In honor of the 0-6 Jets, we're talking about dropping turds on a toilet.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So like we said, Jets are back from London. They're 0-6. Aaron Glenn and Justin Fields are under fire, and we have a lot of angry questions. So let's get to it because I'm sure actually, you know what? They probably do want to hear about Brooks potty training, but we'll get to the questions first. All right. Let's hear about this is from Rob Miller time. Despite changing players, coaches, GMs, schemes, etc., does the phrase "the same old Jets" still apply? Are the Jets hindered by only having a team president and no true director of football operations? What else could it be?
I know that was a hot topic when the Jets let Joe Douglas go and let Robert Saleh go. Is that, should they hire and get basically this football savant to oversee the entire operation? So basically, Jaime, the team president, wouldn't do it. Woody wouldn't do it. You hire somebody, and then that person comes in here and oversees everything. And in a perfect world, I think that does happen. But Jeane, and I was told this during the hiring process, who is that guy? Who is that person? Mm-hmm. Theoretically, it could be somebody like a Bill Parcells, but he's not taking that job at this point in his career. Or maybe it'd be somebody like Bill Belichick, but you've kind of seen the deterioration of him as a football mind now at UNC. So I just don't think that football Caesar exists out there. I don't think he's here for the Jets to go at. If he was, he would be here. I'm sure they'd write him a blank check, and then that guy would oversee everything. But unfortunately, what you're seeing at the moment with the Jets is that it's very hard to get the number of things in place that you need in place to have a very successful football team. You look at the best teams around the NFL, and they either have a really, really good head coach or a really, really good quarterback. And then the literal best teams in the NFL have both the quarterback and the coach. Right now, the Jets don't have that. And there's been this rotation of general managers from Tannenbaum to eventually Idzik and then McCagnon and then Joe. The coaches that have come, whether it was Todd or Rex, then Todd, then Adam. Then we got to Robert, and now we're on Glenn. There's just this rotation of people, and no one's gotten the collective right move of coach and quarterback, or offensive coordinator and head coach and quarterback, and it's just been this dysfunctional disaster that we've seen. And in a perfect world, that guy would come in here and hire and fix everything. I just don't think that guy is out there to hire. I don't see him out there.
And I know Jets fans hate hearing this, and I know we talk about, but it has only been 7 weeks, okay? I know it's been bad 6 weeks, but come on.
It feels like 7.
I
disagree with that. I mean, that's something I do disagree with. I got into an argument with somebody about that today. Patience went out the door when you're 0-6. I preached it. I wrote it in a column.
I get it, but at the same time, they're trying to rebuild everything. Rome wasn't built overnight.
But it's not rebuilding everything. That's the thing, is that the reason the Jets during the hiring process, Jeane, sat there and puffed out their chests and talked
I
about
get
how
that. Yes.
desirable of a
Yes.
destination this was. This is not, we've been a part of this. We've been a part of rebuilds that truly were bare bones dry. Look at what Joe Douglas inherited when he took over in 2019. That was a roster that Robert Saleh described as expansion level, literally meaning they were starting from scratch. That's what the Jets had in 2019. That is not this. This is a roster and a team that has 3/5, potentially 4/5 of the offensive line solidified. This was a team that had a very good running back and a 3 running back head, which now you've lost one in Braylon Allen, but you still have 2 really good running backs in Breece Hall and Isaiah Davis. You have Garrett Wilson split wide. You've got Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, and Quinnen Williams, and Quincy Williams, and Jamie Sherwood, and so many of these players on defense. A defense that the last couple of years was one of the best in the NFL, and it shouldn't now be one of the worst in the NFL just because you lost guys like John Franklin Myers. Those are blows that hurt, but it's not going to completely deteriorate the state of this roster. This team has far too much talent to be 0-6. And I agree with patience when you're 2-4. I agree with patience when you're 3-3, not 0-6. That's now is like, what the hell's going on?
Okay, but I'm just saying they're not even halfway through the season yet.
Unfortunately, because I'm going from ginger to gray fox.
I know you are. Well, you're also potty training a 2-year-old, or she's potty training. You know what? She's potty training herself.
I didn't do anything. Thank you. She came to me and said, "Daddy, I gotta pee." I was like, "All right, done."
All right. This next question is absolutely my favorite, and you'll understand why after. This is from Danny Bags.
Oh, I saw this one on the rundown.
Why did you post that about Jermaine Johnson? I'd assume teams are calling other teams about other players all the time. Yet you singled out Jermaine Johnson, and this is why it's my favorite part of this question. Please explain yourself, Kano.
Oh, yeah, the Kano. Yeah. So
I like the Kano. Sorry. I enjoy that.
Calls have been made to the Jets. The Jets have made calls. And from my understanding, there are times when phone calls are made, no matter what direction they are made, and it's this guy's not available. If a team called Darren Muji and called the Jets about Sauce Gardner, there's no trade that's going to happen for Sauce Gardner. If the Jets called or the Jets were called on Garrett Wilson, there is no trade within reason. I mean, again, if someone's going to be like, five first round picks. Then okay, they're going to deal these guys. But that's not going to happen. From one team that I talked to that had direct contact with the Jets, they were told, Jermaine Johnson, this is the cost for Jermaine Johnson. They said too high. Now, this wasn't so ridiculously high that they're asking for 5 first-round picks or something like that. It was a lot and something this team wasn't willing to pay, but it was still a price that was out there for a player. And to me, that is newsworthy, that the Jets are at least willing to listen to offers for Jermaine Johnson. Whether or not he's ultimately traded, we'll see. But this is something where it's a player that is coveted around the league, and if a team is willing to pony up what it's going to cost to get him, they're going to be able to potentially get him. Now, as for what that cost is, I was not able, the team that told me that it was too high, he would not go into specifics in terms of what was offered. He wasn't going into that detail. And I think probably because if I knew specifically what the Jets offered this team and then I reported it, the Jets are going to know that team was talking to me, and that's just going to ruin sourcing and trust and all that other stuff. But from talking to somebody who was uninvolved in those conversations, but is still a general manager, it's a general manager of a team that does not need a defensive end right now. He was telling me that if he was in need of a DN, what he would pay for Jermaine Johnson. He said if he was very, very, very desperate, he could probably be convinced into a second-round pick. Just because he's somebody that still has team control. The Jets picked up the 5th-year option. A pretty good pass rusher, not a great pass rusher, very good run stuffer, good leader, things like that. So he could be convinced into doing it too, potentially, but more likely it's a 3rd-round pick. A 3rd-round pick for Jermaine Johnson, I understand why the Jets aren't willing to move him for that. 2nd-round pick, I do think you have to consider that, but right now that offer is not out there. The Eagles aren't trading it to. The San Francisco 49ers aren't trading it to. The Dallas Cowboys aren't trading it to for Jermaine Johnson. That's not happening. So in all likelihood, I don't think Jermaine Johnson gets dealt.
All right, by the way, the trade deadline, Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. So we got a couple more weeks, Connor, to keep talking about this. Yep. All right, moving on to Christian Turner. If the Jets were minus 42 favorites against Ohio State this Saturday, would they cover the spread?
Yeah, that's, again, like, those corners can't cover.
Sorry, I just happened to read that question right now.
I know. I know. It's so bad. Like, no, there's no world where that's happening. The Jets aren't that bad. I actually think there's teams in the NFL that are worse than them talent-wise. That's what makes their roster. That's what makes
just so frustrating.
This schedule so frustrating. Yes. And that was my argument with somebody when I was speaking to them earlier this week, is that this team isn't untalented. I've covered teams with no talent. I've seen it. I've dealt with it. You walk in the locker room, you watch practice, and you're like, boy, I was on the beat for probably I was at the Athletic when it was Sharon Peak and Jermaine Kearse and Deontay Burnett and guys like Robbie Anderson starting for this team. This is not that case. Josh Reynolds is the wide receiver one on those teams. I think he's not great, but still he's there. And Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor, those players weren't around in 2019. Those players weren't around in 2020. Those players weren't there when the Jets were quote-unquote tanking in 2017. We've seen what horrific play and talent looks like, and the Jets aren't a horrifically untalented football team. They have strengths in places that you want to be strong at. They have their lockdown corner, whom they invested a ton of money in, their receiver, who they invested a ton of money in, the quarterback that they gave $40 million to. Yes, he was a lottery ticket, but still, they gave him $40 million to come be their franchise quarterback. They should not be 0-6. And they are 0-6 because I genuinely watch every single game and do not believe there has been once where the Jets were at a tactical advantage. Maybe offensively against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I felt that way in Tanner Engstrand's first game as offensive coordinator. I felt there was a legitimate advantage that the Jets offense had against the Steelers defense. Since that first game, though, and since teams have gotten film on Tanner Engstrand, the deterioration of that offense with the continued deterioration of the defense, aside from the sleepwalking game they played against the Broncos, where the Broncos just look completely out of it, still asleep in London, there has not been a moment weeks 2 through 6 where the Jets were at a tactical advantage against their opposition. They haven't.
Question, Connor, though. What, before the season started, what did you have the Jets at this point right now, their record?
2-4. I'd have to go back and look at my specific prediction, but probably 2-4. I would think 2-4, 3-3. Yeah, I would think I had it about 2 or 3.
What's so frustrating is the way they're in these games and they've lost them.
I have to go. That's fine, but that's coaching. That's
no, that's what I'm saying. I think that's the most frustrating part because again, we didn't have this team at 4-2 at this point.
That's fine, and that's them. Correct. I am 4-2. I never said they were going to be 4-2, but they
that's what
I'm
saying. That's the frustrating part. Yeah, 100%.
They're the only team in the NFL without a win right now, and that to me is unacceptable.
And it's frustrating. That I can see why it's the frustration exactly in the way they're losing because
and you can say,
have the talent.
You made a good point. You made a good point because in a lot of these games, you can say the Steelers game, the
Miami game,
Steelers, Buccaneers, Broncos, Dolphins. They were outplayed pretty good. I don't know if I give them the Broncos,
but if Braylon doesn't fumble that ball, I think it's a different game.
True, but the way they are moving down minimum though. At the minimum, I would say those are 3 games there, Jeane. The Steelers game,
yes,
the Buccaneers game, and the Broncos game. Those are 3 games at a minimum where the Jets lost those games because of the final 4 minutes of the first half and the final 4 minutes of the second half. They lost those games because of those moments.
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn, by his own admission, has said that the final 4 minutes of both halves are on the coaches. And when give Brian Costello a lot of credit for asking this fastball to Aaron Glenn after the Broncos game, brought that up to Glenn. He basically said he had no problem with what the Jets were trying to do or what they were doing. It's just they need to execute better. So that's basically like, no, not coaches. That's on the players. And that was a wild finger pointing that we saw there. But either way, I don't. The team shouldn't be 0-6. Is the easiest way to put this. And that's the thing. We can say and that's their argument.
But they also weren't supposed to be 4-2 either.
That's fine. I agree. If they were 2-4 right now, I'd be sitting there saying the same thing. You got to be patient. You got to be patient. You got to be patient. 0-6 is unacceptable. They are the 100%. Only team in the NFL without a win, and that cannot be the case with the talent that they have.
100%.
And again, the Dallas Cowboys aren't like we just saw the Dallas Cowboys lose to the Panthers. Like the Dallas Cowboys who curb stomped the Jets are not a very good team. The Dolphins who beat the Jets are a horrendous team. So they're also losing to bad football teams. They're losing to teams that we thought the Jets should win. Pittsburgh Steelers, you want to give them that game where, okay, fine. Buffalo Bills, fine. Those are 2 losses. No one ever expected them to win those games. So a lot of people picked the Jets to beat the Steelers. I don't give them credit for losing to the Dolphins by a possession or whatever it was. Like, I don't. And a lot of these games even look closer just because of the garbage time that they put up when the teams were in prevent defense. It's just, to me, it's all bad, Jeane. It's unacceptable bad, and I put a lot of it on the coaches.
All right, let's move on to AI Muhe. Speaking of the coaching, if the Jets win 2 or less games, are Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji coming back?
We've talked about this before. I don't know if it's on Final Drive or here on Mailbag.
I think you did it on both.
Probably at the because I do remember because Zach was like, "There's no way you can say 0% chance." 0-17, I guess everything's on the table, and we talked about this in the media room as well. Costello was the one that was like, "Dude, 0-17, everything's on the table there." But the Jets aren't going to go 0-17. If the 2020 Jets didn't go 0-17, a team that I actually went down memory lane of thinking about the most ridiculous things I've seen since I started covering the Jets, where it's Geno getting socked in the face. Sam's mono, the games where Josh McCown, the Jets finally commit to Josh McCown as their long-term answer at quarterback, and then the very next game he breaks his wrist and he's done, or their quarterback for the rest of all these random crazy things that have happened.
I actually forgot that one.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the 2020 season where, because of COVID, there was no preseason games, so every team scrimmaged amongst themselves, and the Jets backups beat the Jets starters like 27-0 or something like that. It was, again, the backups beat the starters 27-0. Just crazy, insane stuff we saw. But that just illustrates how horrendous that 2020 team was. If that team still found a way to win, especially after the Henry Ruggs touchdown as time expired from Carr with the Greg Williams infamous cover zero, these Jets are going to win a game. I don't know when it's going to come. Might be this weekend against the Panthers, next weekend against the Bengals, against the Browns. I don't know when it's going to come. They're going to win a game or two. I don't understand with how stingent the Jets are with their finances and how stingent the Jets are with their money. I don't see how they fire a coach after 1 year that they're paying almost $12 million a year to. Like, I just don't see how that happens. I mean, a 5-year contract at $12 million a year, every penny of a coaching contract is guaranteed. Every penny of assistant coaches' contracts are guaranteed. So when you fire that staff and everybody walks out the door with them, Woody is still on the book for all of that money that he signed those assistant coaches and Aaron Glenn to throughout the duration of the contract. So if he then hires a new coach, and say even that new coach comes in at $8 million, he's paying Glenn next year $11.5–12 million plus $8 million to the new coach. What happens if that new coach stinks too and they need to move on from him after 2 years? Suddenly you're going to be paying 3 coaches at the same time when the Jets had budget cuts a couple of years ago or a year ago or whatever. I don't foresee that happening. And plus, when this was a guy that Woody really banged the table for, and Woody and the entire football ops fell in love with Glenn, to give up on that after 1 year, it's just oof. Now we can get into this, and I've talked about it with Connor Rogers as well ad nauseum about this. One of my really good friends, Joe Lacalandra, who's a South Jersey guy now, but I went to college with him, a diehard Jets fan. We've talked about this in terms of the Jets are steamrolling towards, at the minimum, a top 3, top 5 pick in the NFL draft. They're going to select a quarterback top 3 or top 5. Do you trust this offensive staff to develop the quarterback they take? Do you trust this front office to draft the appropriate quarterback when it seems like there's going to not be a clear-cut consensus number 1 guy?
Honestly, that's a great segue to our next question from Jacob. If you are drafting a rookie quarterback, doesn't it make more sense to extend Breece Hall and have an extra weapon for said quarterback than to trade him for a day 3 pick?
If the Jets' backup running back right now was Devin Singletary, like the Giants, like if Devin Singletary, the Giant, was the backup running back, yeah, I agree. You should keep Breece. But the thing is that they're fine in the backfield. They're not in this horrendously awful situation in the backfield. They have, when he gets healthy, Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, who can give you very similar, if not the same production as Breece Hall. What has Breece Hall done this year that makes you say this is a guy that we need to pay $10+ million a year to, $10+ million annually, when you can keep Braylon? Like, if Braylon Allen was healthy, I don't believe the Jets' running game is as significantly worse or significantly better without Breece Hall giving those carries to Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. I don't. I think it's probably the same. And you can take that $10 million APY that you would be giving Breece Hall, and you can use it to round out the defense. You can round out the offense. You can take that $10 million and go get a legitimate number 2 receiver, or use it as a portion of a salary that gets you a legitimate number 2 wide receiver. And now you have Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, with Garrett Wilson, an insert free agent receiver here, with Arian Smith maybe working on as your other receiver while Garrett Wilson kicks inside to the slot. So in my opinion, it's just financial resources that you're going to need to allocate when you're not a team that's totally set. If the Jets were a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, That's where it makes sense to invest significant financial resources into the running back spot because you already have so much else taken care of, and then you can go win a Super Bowl like they did year one with Saquon Barkley. The Jets are not. So that money that they would invest in Breece Hall, it's better off spread across the roster to help round out the many, many other holes they have.
All right, and we keep talking about the draft, and this question.
Oh, that's going to be the rest of the year, Jeane.
Oh, yeah.
Unless they go on a random run, which that happened in 2019.
Could. I was just going to say.
That expansion level roster in 2019 that Adam Gase had, they still went 7-9. And they got hot and they made a little run and they won some games. And that was, I mean, again, they played crap competition, but the Jets are playing crap competition right now and losing. So it's whatever.
All right, this is from John Nucero. Is there a QB in the draft worthy of being picked in the top 3 where the Jets will almost certainly be picking?
It's all over the place right now.
I know. At this point,
it was
you don't know.
Because Arch Manning has totally fallen off. That's zero chance that happened.
I'm not sure the Mannings would even let him come here, to be honest with you.
Probably right. Probably
Peyton wasn't going to come here.
And neither Eli wouldn't have been here either, but not with the Jets. Peyton was actually a free agent, and they pursued him like crazy, and he picked the Broncos over the Jets, right? If I'm not mistaken, I remember the Jets go. I remember reading that when I was a kid, but I remember that the Jets made a really strong push at Peyton when he was a free agent before he went to the Broncos. It's so up in the air where you've got the kid from Iowa, Sellers is a big name as well, or Indiana. I'm sorry, not Iowa, Indiana. The kid Sellers, you've got the kid from LSU. Like there's so many, but none of these guys have truly separated themselves early in the college season to have the consensus guy being number one. And if you think about this back to last year, who would have thought that Cam Ward was going to be the no doubt number one pick? He just got hot and towards the end of the season, or Jaden Daniels the year before. You know, he wasn't somebody that early on in the season you were thinking, oh, this guy's going to be the number one pick, and then he just got the season kicked on, made a really nice run, and all that stuff. It's kind of crazy stuff. Even last year, think about it. Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward were 1 and 2, 2 and 1 as the quarterbacks, and Shedeur's off-field stuff is why he fell. But who would have thought Jackson Dart would look like the best quarterback of the bunch selected? He looks better. He looks significantly better than Cam Ward, and it's not like he's working with a ton with the Giants. I mean, they lost Malik Neighbors. He's thrown to Lil Jordan Humphrey. Like it's not like he's working with a lot. And he still looks.
And you were at that. And you were at that game. I mean, so you've seen it up close and personal.
I was. I've been at 2 of Dart's 3 starts. I wasn't at the Saints one. I don't think there's a consensus guy right now. It's going to be beauty in the eye of the beholder. I will say I talked to a scout who basically said all these guys need work. They're going to be players. There's not necessarily a pro ready guy. A lot of these dudes are going to need time to sit and learn and develop and maybe have a veteran guy in front of them. So to be completely honest with you, Jeane, the financial stuff tied to the contract of Justin Fields makes things slightly more complicated. I don't know if he would be down to even do this, but I love the idea of the Jets signing Kirk Cousins and then drafting somebody and going into next year as that's your veteran with that. But I don't know if Kirk's going to agree to do that after what happened with Penix in Atlanta, basically the same situation, knowing as soon as you struggle, boom, the rookie's going in. But there isn't a consensus dude at the moment. I say personally, I like Sellers, Lenoris. I like the guy at South Carolina. He's my favorite at the moment. I just think he's a freak. And just ridiculous athleticism, speed, the arm strength, some better accuracy. I like him a lot, but you still got to let this season play out and figure out what this happens. But it does seem like it's beauty in the eye of the beholder this year.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, this is from Shaker EasyZat. Will we or won't we see Brady Cook sometime this season? Will there be a Brady Cook sighting?
This is reminding me of when Jet fans wanted Matt Sims, and like we're on dark times if you guys are turning to Brady Cook to and wanting to see Brady Cook. Like we are in a dark era of this season if that's happening. Like we cannot go there, boys and girls. Like that is something that can't happen. If you also, to be completely honest with you, I think the Jets offense operates at a completely more functional and high level with Tyrod Taylor out there, and I'm not alone in saying that. I mean, the Jets. When the Jets made the decision to sign Justin Fields, I had an assistant general manager from an AFC team text me, he's the second best quarterback on the roster. And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, Tyrod's still there. And so this is a league-wide opinion. It's not just inside the locker room where I've talked to several players within the locker room who have stressed to me that Tyrod Taylor is the Jets quarterback, and they believe Tyrod Taylor is the Jets' best quarterback. In fact, I had players telling me that dating back to training camp when Justin Fields was struggling a ton and they thought Taylor was the best. the thing is that, and I've stressed this before and wrote it for SNY this week in a column, the players were aware, and everybody is aware, that Fields is a better athlete, and Fields can do more total things than Tyrod Taylor was. So the thought going into the season that Fields' running ability and physicality and things like that would allow the Jets offense to do more, even though he wasn't as talented of a passer. Right now, and it's probably because he's gotten the you-know-what kicked out of him against the Dolphins, Cowboys, and Broncos, he's physically not at a place where he can run as much as the Jets wanted him to. So now they're trying to make him this drop-back quarterback, and it's been a complete and total disaster the last couple of weeks. I mean, he has had such a ridiculous regression from the opener against the Steelers to where we are now. If he's not running the ball, and he's also not doing it as a passer, you owe it to the rest of the guys on the team to turn to Tyrod Taylor, or you're going to run the risk of losing the other guys on the team. So if the Jets go to Taylor, they'll work, and the offense will be fine. It'll be great, but it'll be fine. They can win 5 or 6 games easy, maybe even 7 with Tyrod Taylor as the quarterback. Brady Cook is no, we're not doing that. If we get to the point, Janae, where Brady Cook is starting a game for the Jets this season, this mailbag is going to be questions on everything but the Jets. I can't do that. I for my own mental health, like I'm big into therapy and all that stuff. I'm going to have to go twice a week if we're dealing with Brady Cook Sundays in the NFL this year. I'm not doing that.
Well, guess what? For our last question, we ain't talking about the Jets, okay? Because this question comes from your favorite person, Jeane Coakley.
There we go.
Did the beef Wellington live up to the expectations? We talked so much about it last show. I need to know. The viewers want to know, Connor.
It was good. It wasn't great. Okay. I'll say this honestly. I'm curious your take on this, Janae. I'll ask the question to you because I talked about this with Andy Vasquez on Final Drive this week. I am not a ginormous Gigunda fan of London as a road trip. Now, if the Jets get the Ireland game next year, I'm very excited to literally battle Matt Dunn, my boss, tooth and nail to make sure that I'm in Ireland. In fact, I saw him at the London game and I mentioned it to him and he goes, I have a feeling you're already going to make the push. I was like, absolutely. I'm making the argument of why I need to be there. I would love to be there.
Starting right now.
Yeah, as far as London, I got to get my contract. I got to get my contract extended first, and then we'll make sure we're there. But yeah, both of us. I view London as a good trip, as a fun trip. Having done it now 3 times, I don't really need to go back to London. The food
and not good, and they'll say it. They're not known for their food.
Correct. And I'm not a fish and chips guy. I'm not a big fan of it. It's just a big fish stick. I don't
can we rank the press food box in London at Tottenham
Stadium?
That
was very good. But real quick, I don't like the fish and chips. The rest of it's very bland. The Indian food is tremendous. I went to Dishoom, and they're actually bringing one to New York. It was remarkable, the Indian food. That is very, very good. But I don't need to travel 6 hours on a flight to go to that. And it's always
gain 5 hours.
There's no sun. It's always kind of rainy and gross
Listen
and cold.
To this.
And the traffic is terrible. And it takes forever on a flight to get there. The beef Wellington was fine, but it wasn't the best steak or beef meal I've ever had in my life. I didn't think it was that great. The best part about London, honestly, is the pubs and bouncing around the pubs and getting the cask beer. And there's some really cool cocktail bars as well you can go to. But you can find those anywhere you go. So I think it's a top 10 road trip. I don't think it's top 5. I mean, I put Nashville, San Fran, Seattle, Miami, Arizona, all of those places. So
we should start playing the violin for us. Oh my gosh, people are gonna be like, really?
The press box is fun. I will say stadium though, Janae. You and I talked about
stadium next
to each other. Stadium's 1-1. I think I put it slightly above Minnesota right now as far as stadiums are concerned. I mean that
awesome.
stadium is magnificent. It really.
You can watch bad football and still have a great time because that's how I look at it. We did.
Well, it's also this is kind of a low blow, but it's the only Jets game we cover a year that's sold out. It's true. The Jets don't sell out MetLife Stadium. Even the biggest games, even when they were, maybe the closest was the one Aaron ran out with the flag. Rodgers ran out with the flag. That's probably the closest.
That's 9/11,
it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah, the closest it's been to sold out. That's it though. Even even after the game, Sam when he was still Todd when they beat the Lions and they came back in week 2 as a winner. that wasn't even like his rookie year. That wasn't even a great sellout, like unbelievable crowd. Like there's been the opener in 2016 after they went 10-6 against the Bengals. That was a really good crowd. 2015 when they beat the Patriots to keep their playoff hopes alive. That was a good crowd, but it's never like London. London is literally every single seat is filled by people that just want to scream and yell and drink and party because to them it's like a novelty. Like, oh, the NFL's here and they love it. And it doesn't matter if they're Jet fans, Bronco fans, Giant fans, Eagle fans, whoever fans they are. Like it's just they're packing the stands and going nuts. So it's really cool just to hear that and experience that. And an outdoor press box allows you to truly feel the energy of it all. So it's really, really cool. And I do give them credit for that. But I'll be honest, I don't need to fly 6 hours to get that. I'm fine not doing that. But Ireland, I do want to go to. I do want to go to Ireland.
I didn't realize you want to go to Ireland. All right, for Ireland, for that, I have to catch up on my sleep because I'm still 5 hours ahead.
How long is that flight? It's not that long, isn't it? I don't think it's that long.
I think it's 5 hours. Yeah, it's about the same.
So better.
Yeah, a little better. All right, well, thank you all so much for watching this edition of Jets Mailbag. Like we said before, we will be with you every week of the Jets
unless Brady Cook starts
season, unless Brady Cook is starting. To answer
I feel
your
bad.
question,
I take that back. I feel bad. I feel bad for Brady Cook. I don't mean that, but with all due respect to Brady Cook, I can't go down this road again. I just can't. I gotta.
So you guys know what questions to ask Connor, which is going to send him over the edge. Submit your questions for next week's episode on mine, Connor's, or SNY's Twitter X account, or drop them in the YouTube comments below this episode. For Connor Hughes, I'm Jeane Coakley. We'll talk to you next week, and we'll learn more about Brooke and her potty training.